The Health Department's proposed changes to tobacco laws could see people face jail time. The Tobacco Products Control Bill looks to completely ban smoking indoors, among other measures. We're joined now by the department's Deputy Director of Health Promotion, Lorato Mahura. Lorato, good evening to you. Thanks for your time. Government has received quite a bit of backlash for wanting to tighten the legislation around tobacco use from the industry, but also from pro-smoking lobbyists. You're pushing through with some of these proposed amendments. How are you expecting that they'll fundamentally change things, especially the regulation of how tobacco is used?
Let me just sort of give an overview before I could answer. What is happening is that the current legislation that we're having has a lot of loopholes that we needed to be looking into. So what we're trying to do is to sort of improve the way it's drafted, because sometimes when you draft, different people will interpret the same thing differently. And it also hampers on enforcement. So we're trying to close those loopholes. And we're introducing some of the things that were never enshrined in the current bill. For instance, over time, there's innovation in products. For instance, the old bill is only covering traditional tobacco products, whereas products have evolved. So we're putting in the vaping products, the electronic delivery systems, and we're also putting some laws that will protect the non-smokers and vulnerable groups like children from the smokers.
It also looks like there are going to be much heftier fines for those who don't comply.
Yes, there will be, and particularly with offenses relating to children, the penalties suggested are very steep, in a sense that, for instance, in a no-smoking zone, one could be imprisoned for like 3 months, or could be fined, or even receive both. But where there's a child involved, for instance, when you have a person smoking next to a child in a motor vehicle or in a room, what's going to happen is that they could be facing imprisonment for 6 months, or even a fine, or sometimes even both. But I don't want people to sort of concentrate much on the penalties, because each and every case has its own merits. So, for instance, what I'm trying to say is that we could be sort of doing the same thing, like similar offenses don't necessarily will give you the same outcome in terms of judgment or in terms of penalties. Now, the other thing that we're also looking at is smoking in a private dwelling where there's childcare activity, or where there's schooling, or where there are domestic workers. The current laws do not cover those things, and we're strengthening laws around workplaces as well.
It looks like government is also trying to crack down on the availability of tobacco products. The fact that this regulation proposes that they not be sold at vending machines?
The issue with vending machine is that they are accessible to all ages. So you are not actually able to monitor who's buying from the vending machine. So if the law says we are not supposed to be selling to children, those under 18, it means then vending machines becomes obsolete.
So then let's talk about your expectations in as far as, number one, this going through Parliament, and what happens if it's passed. Are you expecting opposition, given the kind of, again, contestation that there already has been from the industry?
At the current phase, what we are actually observing is that the industry is concentrating much on pushing back laws relating to vapes that we call electronic delivery systems. And other issues of concern from the industry is plain packaging, whereby our packets are going now to be sort of concentrating on giving messages around health issues and pictorials. And what's going to happen is that they will still have a chance, even when the bill is in Parliament. It's no longer the responsibility of the department to sort of give directives in terms of what should happen, because Parliament has now taken over. But we take the bill as Section 76, which means that it can now be taken to provincial legislatures for for public hearing discussions. So there are also on the sides, we have what we call parliamentary committees, so they can take their deliberations and debates to those committees as well.
All right, let's leave it there for tonight.